Okay, 3 common research designs. So we have the cross-sectional design, the retrospective study design, okay? Then we have the prospective study designs, cross-sectional study designs, retrospective study designs, and then we have the prospective study designs. What is retrospective study design? Now you are studying backwards in time, backward in time. Okay, and I gave an example that, okay, I want to do a research to know the number of malaria cases that was admitted at Dansoman Polyclinic between the year 2020 to 2025. Now, such a study, you are doing retrospective. Why? You are going to see from records, from past information. So it's retrospective. Okay, so when you're doing that, okay, now if you are common disease, we use the direction. Okay, so retrospective backwards. You are backwards in time. Use the steps. You are from history, from cross you are your presence. You are collecting. That is why most they use 2 words. If you go back in most when they are different cross sections, you are going to see them use 2 words. They will use snapshots in time or bird's sky view. And it's symbolic of the fact that, for example, if you are taking a picture and you snap, you press on the camera button, the red button. Now the image comes instantly. That's the whole idea. So what that means is that cross-sectional study, now you are collecting the information to answer your research questions now. You are not going back into the future, or you are not looking forward going forward into the future or going backwards into the past. Okay, that is cross-sectional. So you are collecting, ideally, cross-sectional study. Ideally, if you have every resource, cross-sectional study shouldn't even take you up to a week. Ideally, if you have everything, more like a day, you are done. But usually, because of resource limitations and other things, it's not practical that you are doing a research. You'll be able to collect all your data a day because of, challenges like resource constraints, access to participants or members or their population and all of that. Sometimes it may extend up to 3 months maximum. Okay, cross-sectional study, we are not looking at a study that is crossing about a year. Ideally, all things being equal, cross-sectional study now, the word we are using is now, cross-sectional. Okay, and you can link it to even your anatomy. You see, cross-sectional, if you cut an organ into 2, you see all the parts now. You see everything instant. That's why we are using the word cross-sectional. Is that okay? Some books also use bird's sky view. If a bird is in the sky and is looking on the ground, the bird, it sees everything instant. It sees everything in the scope of view on the ground instantly. Bird's sky view. So cross-sectional studies, like you are doing a study, you are collecting information to answer your research questions now. Cross-sectional. And I told you majority of students usually do cross-sectional studies. Why? Because of your time constraints. Yes, I don't think any group may want to do a study that you are going to use 5 years. I don't think there is any group who they would decide that we will do research for 5, we will do prospective studies for about 2 to 3 years, or let's say 5 years, then we'll finish our research. No. So majority of the time, most of you do cross-sectional studies. Why? Because cross-sectional studies, the duration is now. It does not take time. Is that okay? Yes, that is cross-sectional study. Now, prospective studies. Prospective. You are studying ahead into the future. Okay, prospective. Okay, and remember, prospective study is a longitudinal study. Prospective study is an example of a longitudinal study. And we say a longitudinal study, listen to the longitudinal, longer period. Something that takes some time. It takes a longer time. or a longer period. Okay, so prospective study is ahead of time. So anytime any researcher is doing a study, they would be measuring their variables, a certain variable in the future. They are doing a prospective study. So if a researcher tells you, oh, I'm doing a research, but I have some variables I would measure in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 6 years, that person is doing a prospective study. But generally, sometimes researchers will say, oh, they are doing longitudinal study. So if someone tells you I'm doing a longitudinal, you have to ask, okay, what type of longitudinal study? Then the person tells you, okay, I'm doing a prospective cohort study. That is a longitudinal study, because some people may also call retrospective longitudinal. Okay, so practically we have 3 designs: retrospective study design, cross-sectional design, prospective study designs. Prospective, what is the direction of prospective study? Into the future, ahead. The direction is ahead of you. You are looking into the future to collect your data or some of your variables. Retrospective, what is the direction? Backwards in time. You are studying into the past, or you measure your variables by collecting information from past records or from past history. Retrospective studies. Okay, then we have the cross-sectional. What is cross-sectional? We are collecting variables or information to answer our research questions. Now, we are collecting it now. Instant cross-sectional studies. So these are the 3 common designs. Okay, then I told you that now we have a concept we call quantitative studies, qualitative studies, and then mixed method study. In some literatures, they may classify them or call them designs, but it's up to you. It's not about they are calling it design. It's about you understanding what they mean. Okay, so that is not going to be about the design that has been attached to the name. Because even if a textbook writes quantitative research design, the only explanation that you are going to see is that they are going to tell you what it means. Okay, now let's come to the research approach. And I call them research approach. So the research approach, there are 3. We have the quantitative approach, qualitative approach, and mixed method approach. Don't worry. If you see other literatures calling them designs, don't worry. That doesn't change the meaning. What is important is you know what it actually means. So when we say quantitative approach, or even if they call it quantitative design, all that they will still explain is that in quantitative design, you are going to measure certain variables in numbers. Okay, so what are the features? So now let's discuss what are the features of a quantitative design or a quantitative approach. What are the features? That is what is important. 1, a researcher will be measuring something in numbers. So once you see someone doing a study, okay, are you measuring knowledge of people? Are you taking records, your recordings? Are you measuring anything in numbers? Then the person tells you, oh, I will measure the number of the nurses who have knowledge. I'll also measure those who do not have knowledge. Straight. That is quantitative. Once you are taking any variable, you are measuring anything in your study in numbers, you are doing quantitative studies. That is what we call quantitative approach. Fine, if you still want to call it design to it, it's not a problem. It's about you understanding what quantitative approach means. Okay, again, which other character are we going to see? If someone is doing a quantitative study, the results section, the person would present results that depict statistical analysis. So you are going to see frequency distribution tables in the person's work. You are going to see things like bar graph. You are going to see pie charts. Okay, you are going to see the person doing things like inferential statistics, like hypothesis testing. So if you take someone's research work and you see frequency distribution tables, the person calculating for standard deviation, the person calculating for variance, the person calculating for mean, the person doing statistical, don't ask the person which design. It's straight, it's quantitative. That is a typical character of a quantitative study. You don't ask. Someone have done research. You've opened the work. You've seen the person calculating for percentages, and you are still asking. No, that is typical of a quantitative studies. Straight away, it's a quantitative study. So if they ask you, okay, what type of study do you think this person conducted? What approach? It's a quantitative approach. Why? The person is having graph. The person is having percentages. The person is having frequency tables. It's quantitative design. Because quantitative design, you measure variables and present them using statistical methods. Quantitative. Now, which other character is a quantitative design going to have? You will see an instrument like a questionnaire. If someone is doing quantitative study, that person cannot use interview guide. You see how it goes. So if someone is going to do a quantitative study, you can't use an interview guide. It's contradictory, because quantitative studies goes with the instrument we call questionnaire. Is that okay? And that is why I was telling you that the approach and the design, they give us an impression how you go about the study, the research process. So if you tell me, oh, my study, we are going to use quantitative right from the beginning, I know in the end, you present your results using either frequency tables, using graphs, using either pie charts. You may do some statistical calculation like standard deviation. You may do calculations like calculating for mean, calculating for percentages, doing inferential statistics, those kind of things. It means the person used quantitative approach to data collection. That is quantitative approach to data collection. Fine. Some books will still call it quantitative design, but check the meaning. The meaning will still be around what I'm explaining. So don't be so worried about the word design that they are using. But I call them approach. Is that okay? They are not necessarily designs. The designs really emphasizes on the duration of the study, the duration and the direction of the study. They are the actual designs. Okay, the concept that actually explains the direction of the study and the duration, they are the actual designs. Is that okay? Then we have what we call the qualitative designs. Okay, now qualitative design, what are the characteristics? Yes, who can tell me some of the characteristics of qualitative approach? Yes.
What are the qualitative approach? You don't use numerical numbers.
Good. You don't measure any variable in numbers. Okay, good. So someone also mentioned something interesting. Interview guide. That is excellent. Interview guide. Yes. Interview guide. And then you do not measure variables in numbers. Which other character did we talk about?
Sir, please, where you want to know people's opinions and perception about.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, please, and you also spoke about the rich, in-depth, contextual insights.
Oh, we can't hear you. The one who just delivered, the last person. We didn't hear you well.
Sir, please, you spoke about the rich, in-depth, contextual.
Good.
Insights.
So that is about how the person will present the results. Okay, so a person who is doing qualitative study, when you go to the person's result, you see quantitative, they are presenting it with pie charts, frequency table, graphs. Someone doing qualitative, you are going to see rich, in-depth, contextual insights. Okay, meaning that simply means that the person is going to present the results like a narrative. It's like two people have done an interview and you are narrating, you are describing what they've, the interview section. That is qualitative. Okay, so you see someone who have done qualitative study, don't expect to go and see a pie chart. Don't expect to go and see statistical calculations in their results. Okay, so you see, this is not more like a design. The design focuses more on the duration and the direction of the study. Okay, so if you understand, it doesn't matter what the textbook, if a textbook call it quantitative design, if you check the meaning, it's the same explanation they will give you. Though they've added design to that word, but still they'll be talking about quantitative studies are used to collect, when you want to measure variables in numbers, okay, or when you be taking any parameters in the form of numbers. For example, you are going to do a research, you'll be measuring people's weight. Of course, that is quantitative. Okay, you are going to do research, you'll be measuring prevalence. That is quantitative. Okay, you are going to do research. You'll be you'll be measuring the attitude of people, but you'll be measuring it in numbers. That is quantitative. You are going to do research. We ask you, okay, how do you want to present your results? Say, oh, at the end of the day, I want to present my results using frequency tables. I want to present my results using pie charts. Straight away, that is quantitative you are interested in doing. You don't want to do qualitative. Okay, you want to do research. Say, oh, me, I'm good in writing. I like writing. I like, listening to people's interviews and all of that. So I want to, be able to express myself right there. Interview section of 2 people. I don't want to do anything mathematics, interviews, and of course, it means your interest is in qualitative studies. Someone will say, oh, me, I want to do both. Okay, so if someone is doing mixed method study, what would be the general characteristics?
Just you will be seeing both table forms and then conceptual writing.
Good. Excellent. So, generally speaking, how many types of research designs do we have commonly? What are the 3 common designs?
Sir, please, Terry.
Okay, what are they?
Sir, please, qualitative, quantitative, and then mixed method.
Yes, what are they? Yeah. Oh, amplify your voice a little.
Yeah, please. Retrospective and then descriptive processional design and then prospective.
That is fine. Good. So what is the retrospective? What is retrospective?
So, retrospective is studying backwards in time.
Okay, that is fine. That is retrospective. Okay, and which one is the prospective?
Sir, please,
Sir.
Studying into the
Sir,
future.
please.
So, yes.
Sir, please, the retrospective, is it the one that you said it is also used when you collect data from already existing data?
Good. So, not already exist. So, retrospective study, definitely you collect the data usually from already existing records. So, for example, I gave an example. You want to do research. Let's say you're a nurse. You want to do a research. You go to a certain hospital, maybe the emergency. You say, oh, I want to know the accident cases that were recorded between 2000 and then 2023. You see, all these informations are in the past too. Yes, so definitely the direction of your study is into the past. You are going to collect all your information from past. That is a retrospective study. Is that okay? Now, a typical example of a retrospective study, there is a particular study we usually attach to retrospective study. That is, we have a study we call case control. When we say case control, let me give you a practical example. Let's say you've heard of a disease. Let's say you've heard of a new disease. A disease. Let's say someone is having a disease. Let me use hypertension. Someone is having hypertension. Is that okay? Let's assume we don't know the cause of hypertension. So what we are going to do is we are going to look out for people who have hypertension. Then we call them. Let's say we've gotten 10 people. We call them. Then we start asking them questions. Okay. Oh, the past 3 years ago, do you used to smoke? Oh, 3 years ago, you used to exercise? Look at the questions. You see, I'm asking them questions to pick information from the past. Okay, and that is why we call, and what I'm doing, this type of study is what we call case control. So case control, where do we start from? You see, which people did I select? I selected people who have the outcome. In research, usually when we say outcome is more like a disease. So you see, case control, you start from the outcome. Then what is the direction of the study? Backwards to identify the exposure or the risk factor in the past. You get, but the most important in making it retrospective or case control is that where did we start from? Now, What is the direction in the past? Where did we start the study from? Now. What is the direction we are collecting our variables from? Into the past. So retrospective studies. Okay, and I gave a typical example of a retrospective study. In most textbooks, when you say retrospective, they will tell you case control. Okay, but you have to understand retrospective beyond just the case control. Retrospective generally means that you are studying into the past, or backwards in what? In time, backwards in time. Okay, then we also learned the prospect. What will be some advantages of retrospective studies? What do you think will be some advantages of retrospective studies? Let's discuss that. What do you think will be some
Please, you said it is less expensive.
Of course, it is less expensive. Someone have the records there already. You are going to sit down and just take notebook and be writing. 2000. This person had accident. Then you write. You take. Is this expensive? No, it's less expensive. Is that okay? Good. So some books will say, retrospective studies, they are fast to conduct, very fast. If you are very serious, you can, if I want to do a retrospective studies at Korle Bu, maybe the accident and emergency, and I have what I want to study, I can go and sit there and spend like 3 days and finish and go back. It's fast to conduct. Okay, less expensive and very fast to conduct. Is that okay? Good. And retrospective studies are very important when you are studying rare diseases, new conditions, like conditions that are not common. So let's say you've heard of someone having a new condition. You've never heard of it or seen it in your country. The best study to do is retrospective. So you select those people because those people are the outcome. So you pick them. When you pick them, what are you going to do? I'm going to ask them questions. Okay, in the past 2 years, were you in Ghana? You see the questions I'm asking? I'm asking them questions to get an information in the past. I'm relying on past records. Is that okay? So such a study is what we call retrospective studies. But the most important thing you always have to remember, that will help you to, be able to understand retrospective is the direction of the study. What is the direction of the study? From now to the past. So you can write it. From now, the study starts now. But what direction are you going? To the past. Prospective study. The study starts now. What direction are you going to? To the future. But prospective too have unique characteristics which goes beyond this in advanced research. Yes, because we have another prospective study. I'll come there later on. So generally, and what will be some of the disadvantages of retrospective studies? I mentioned some. What are some of the disadvantages?
Sir, please, you can get incomplete data.
Good. You see how it is. Incomplete data. Because you see, maybe you are going to collect data on patients. It could be the nurses didn't check. Maybe you want to take their vital signs. It could be the nurses. The record you are looking at, it could be they didn't check their vital signs. It could be some of the patients, they have their religious affiliation. Some of them too, maybe they didn't write. Okay, and you don't have control over the data they collected. So you are likely to be challenged, or you are likely to experience what we call incomplete or inaccurate data or inaccurate information. Retrospective studies. It's less expensive, but your data may not be complete like you want. Is that okay? Any other disadvantage we spoke about?
Selection bias.
Oh, you people are very intelligent. It means that the objectives, you'll be okay. Yes, one of the key characteristics of retrospective study is selection bias. The researcher, you'll be biased. So, for example, when you go, you'll be forced to select what is there because you don't have any control. What the nurses recorded, because you are going to rely on information in the past. So you don't have control what you want. And that is what brings about selection bias. You'll be forced to rely on what is there. Do you get it? Selection bias. Okay, any other disadvantage we spoke about? Okay, so basically these are the disadvantages of retrospective studies. How about cross-sectional? What is cross-sectional study? What keywords do we use when you're explaining cross-sectional studies.
Snapshot.
Snapshot in time. Any other keywords?
Yes, it's fast.
Any other
Best
keyword
sky
you've
view.
seen in bird sky view? And then you can also use some textbooks to use single point in time. Have someone come across that word? Single point in time. Yes, so you can use, if you are defining cross-sectional study, you can use these three words: either snapshot in time, bird sky view, or single point in time. What does that mean? Who can explain? What does that mean? You are collecting data, okay, from a group of people at a single point in time. What does that mean? Yes, what does that mean? Yes, practically, what does it mean?
Collecting data now.
Good. It means that you are collecting your data now. Is that okay? You are collecting your data now. Is that okay? There is nothing like you are waiting on. Whatever information here, we are not interested in future or in the past. Now, we want the information now. Do you know, have you heard of malaria? Straight. Your answer, yes or no, you want it now. But more like retrospective would be like, 5 years ago, did you know about malaria? You see, there are two different questions. But cross-sectional now, do you know malaria? Have you heard of malaria? Yes, no. I'm taking that information now. But prospective person may observe you for some time and ask you that question in the future. Cross-sectional now. So ideally, if you are doing a cross-sectional study, everything relatively you are looking at, conducting and collecting all information that you need to answer your research questions now. And I gave you a duration that if you are doing cross-sectional study, don't expect to cross like 5 months, 6 months. No. And usually all things being equal, if you have your resources, you have your personnel, you are doing research, cross-sectional study, maximum 3 months, you are done. Maximum 3 months, you are done. Is that so? If someone tells you, we're doing a study, you ask them, okay, how long did your study take? The person tells you, it lasted for 2 months. Do you get it? It lasted for 2 months. So straight. It's more likely to be a cross-sectional study. Unless they tell you. Yes.
Sir, please, in our notes, you told us that 1 month to 6 months.
Oh, that is fine. It's not a problem. The whole thing is not a problem. The whole thing you should understand is it shouldn't last longer. That's all. Is that it shouldn't last longer. You are doing a cross-sectional study. Don't look at doing a study that is extending up to a year. No. You are going into prospective. Okay, so cross-sectional study, all things being equal. Let's say a month. It means you are working hard. 2 months, 3 months. Maximum, don't cross about 6 months. Cross-sectional. But it's not even about attaching the month to it. I'm saying this for you to appreciate that cross-sectional shouldn't last longer. That's all. It shouldn't last longer. Is that okay? Cross-sectional shouldn't last long. Else you enter into a prospective study. Can you imagine a cross-sectional study? Then you tell us, hey, you are using 2 years. No. Even 1 year is a lot. Maximum, you're looking at finishing within 6 months. Is that okay? That is a cross-sectional study. What do you think could be some of the advantages of cross-sectional studies?
Less expensive.
It is less.
Cross-sectional studies. What would be some of the advantages of cross-sectional studies? It is inexpensive. Okay, it is inexpensive. So usually in most textbooks, when they are writing the advantages of cross-sectional, they try to write the advantage by comparing it to prospective. So they will say that, cross-sectional is less expensive as compared to prospective. Okay, that's the direction of, that's how they argue their point. So cross-sectional is because someone can also do a cross-sectional study that is expensive. Yeah, so they will say, cross-sectional is inexpensive as compared to prospective studies. And that will tell you that in some way it's also expensive, but compared to prospective is better. Because if you say cross-sectional is not someone can argue with you. Yes, a cross-sectional study can be expensive too. Okay, so the best way to say, oh, cross-sectional study is less expensive as compared to prospective studies, then it makes your point very clear. But fine, if you also say cross-sectional is inexpensive, fine, it can be considered. Which other advantage do we have for cross-sectional studies?
It is accurate.
Good. You have the opportunity.
Please, can you say no follow-up required?
Good. There is no follow-up period. It's very great. It means that you are learning. Yes. That shows that you are learning. In cross-sectional studies, there is no follow-up period. Which study design do we have a follow-up period? Which study design do we have? Prospective. Yes. Prospective. Yes. Prospective studies. There is a follow-up period. Yes, prospective studies, there is a follow-up period. So prospective study, why is there a follow-up period? Because you are studying into the future. Okay, so you pick people now, but you are monitoring them into the future. So there is a follow-up. Once you are monitoring people into the future, it means you are going to be doing a lot of follow-up. But cross-sectional, I'm not going to monitor you into future. I'm taking my data now. So if I meet you at the hospital, I give you the questionnaire. I'm not saying I'll come and collect the questionnaire in 10 years' time. It's now, give me the questionnaire and let me go back. Cross-sectional. So there is nothing like a follow-up period in cross-sectional studies. Okay, but in prospective studies, there is a follow-up period. Is that okay? Yes. So one of the advantages of cross-sectional is that there is no follow-up period. Is that okay? It is relatively inexpensive as compared to what? Prospective. So as compared to prospective studies. Now let's come to prospective studies. What are the advantages of prospective studies? Yes, what are the advantages of prospective studies?
It is time consuming.
Come again.
Please, there is no selection bias.
Good. There is no selection bias because, again, you have the opportunity to, you'll be able to get a complete data. Because let's say, because there's a follow-up period. So let's say you met a participant A, you collected data, you couldn't finish or you didn't get a complete data. You have the opportunity to recollect the data again during the follow-up period or during the follow-up sections. Is that so? Someone doing prospective studies, the data collection can be properly planned and standardized. So if I take a questionnaire today and I come back and I notice the questionnaire is not good, prospective, I have about 10 years, 5 years, 3 years to finish. I can come and replan and design the instrument again and go back. Prospective, because you see, so prospective studies, data collection is usually well planned and more standardized as compared to the other study designs in prospective studies. And in research, prospective studies usually have strong evidence. Prospective study designs, the evidence is very strong. If someone has done a research for 10 years, you have done it for a month, 3 months, can you compare and say your results is stronger? No. Prospective study usually have stronger evidence as compared to the other study designs. Is that okay? Prospective studies, they usually give us stronger evidence in research. Yes, please.
So please, can you use it to study like multiple outcomes?
Yes, prospective studies, you can use it to study multiple outcomes. Yes, because you see, the point is that in prospective studies, one thing you should know, you are not starting from the outcome. You start from the exposure. So if you are going to do prospective studies, you start by selecting people who have the risk factor. So for example, we can see a new risk factor. Let's say people are not exercising. We can select about 10 people who do not exercise. Now the question, where are we starting from? Exposure. In research, exposure is what we call risk factor. Okay, so we start from people who are exposed. Then we start monitoring them. Okay, first year, did they develop hypertension? Okay, did they develop any coronary artery disease? Okay, did they develop any respiratory condition? So you see, where did we start from? We started from the risk factor. That is what we call exposure. We are monitoring them into the future to see what outcome they will develop. Outcome in research, you can call it disease, to see what disease they will develop in the future. Is that okay? And what you should know is that, for example, you see people who do not exercise. It can end up that some of them will be developing different kind of outcomes. Someone may not exercise, may develop hypertension. Someone may not exercise, may develop another outcome. Maybe, let's say, coagulation problem or blood clotting problem, something like that. Is that okay? Yeah. So, or maybe lipid problem. Okay. So you may end up, ending at different outcomes. So in a situation where you're expecting different outcomes, prospective studies is very good. Prospective cohort, because you start from the exposure, you may end up arriving at different outcomes for all the participants you are following up on. Is that okay? That is what we call prospective cohort studies. Okay, so prospective cohort studies, you start from where? Now, which people do you start from? People who are exposed to a certain risk factor. People who are exposed. Which individuals do you start from? People who are exposed to a certain risk factor. Where are you studying them to? What's the direction? Forward. As you are going forward, what are you looking for? You are following them up until they develop something. What are they developing? Outcome. Is that okay? So prospective have two common or key characteristics. One, where does it start from? It starts from now. Who do you start from? Who do you start with? You start with someone who have developed a certain risk factor. In research, what do we call those people? You are studying into the future. What are you looking for? The outcome in the future. So prospective study is good when you are trying to get some outcome. So people are having some. So let's say you have a group of people that you need. They live closer to an industry where there is always, pollution from the industry, from maybe dust, from smoke, and all kinds of things. You can choose to go there and select some of them. Why? They are at risk. So there is a risk factor there, or they are exposed. And that is good for prospective study. So you select them, select 5 people. What are you looking for? You are studying them into the future to see whether they will develop a certain disease from the exposure status. Okay, so you study them until you see whether they are going to develop a certain disease. Is that okay? That is prospective study. Where does it start from? It starts from now. Who do you start with? Someone who is exposed. What are you following up to? You are looking into the future for the outcome. Retrospective. Where do you start from? You start from now. Who do you start with? Someone with the disease or someone with an outcome. What direction are you going? You are going into their past to look out for what? To look out for what they were exposed to in the past. Is that okay? Yes. So basically, this is it about cross-sectional, the 3 common study designs. Okay, what are some of the disadvantages of cross-sectional studies? Or we've done that already. What are some of the disadvantages of cross-sectional studies? What are some of the disadvantages of cross-sectional studies? It does not really give you a strong evidence. Okay, cross-sectional study will not usually give you very strong evidence in research. Okay, so here it's about comparing the evidence you are getting. If someone is doing prospective study, we believe in research that their results is more of strong in terms of the evidence as compared to cross-sectional. Okay, so in terms of the arrangement, prospective will come, retrospective will be the second, cross-sectional will be the third. Cross-sectional does not really give you strong evidence as compared to prospective and then retrospective studies. Okay, so you can consider that as a disadvantage. What are some of the advantages of prospective studies? I think you mentioned some of them. What are some of the advantages of prospective studies? Yes, I mentioned strong evidence. Which other advantage do you know? Prospective. Yes, what are some of the advantages of prospective studies?
Sir, please, there is no selection bias.
Sir, please, accurate data collection.
Excellent. Your data will be complete. You are likely to get a complete data. Is that okay? You are likely to get a complete data. Okay. And again, data collection is well planned. You have more time to plan your data, your instrument for data collection. Okay. And you are likely to get a very strong evidence. Okay. And you know, prospective study can also minimize record bias. Which study has a disadvantage we call record bias? Who remembers? Which of the designs have a disadvantage we call record bias? Who remembers? Which of the designs have a disadvantage we call record bias? Retrospective studies. Yes,
Retrospective.
Because retrospective. Yes, that is correct. Because retrospective, you are going to ask people questions to get information from their past. It could be they've forgotten. Yes, it could be they will not remember some of the things you asked them. So record bias is one of the disadvantages of retrospective studies. But you see, prospective studies, even if you ask them the question and they don't remember today, it could be that in the next 3 months they will remember. So, and you have the opportunity that when they remember and give you the answer, you can go and input it into your data, because the study is a longitudinal study. It's into the future. So you will have the opportunity to do a lot of modifications to get a very complete data. Is that okay? Prospective studies. Okay, so prospective studies can minimize record bias. You know, it would also help to minimize or reduce selection bias. Okay, what are the disadvantages of prospective studies?
Sir, please, you might get it lost to follow up.
Good.
Lost.
Good. There can be lost to follow up. And what does that mean? What does that mean?
The people might get out of it.
Good. Some of them at a point, some of them can say, "Oh, me, I'm tired of this study. Please, I'm not doing this anymore." Someone may even travel. You get it? Some of them may even travel. Some too may die. That's what we call lost to follow up. Okay, so one of the disadvantages of prospective studies is that because it's a longitudinal study, there can be lost to follow up. Okay, any other? It's also expensive. This is very expensive and time consuming. Is that okay? So practically, these are the 3 research designs. So if someone asks you, okay, what are research designs? Research design basically explains the overall strategy you are going to use to get information to answer research questions. But in actual sense, when we say design, the focus is on the duration and the direction of the study you are going to do. Okay, what does that mean? For example, we take cross-sectional study design. What is the duration and what is the direction? The duration and the direction is now. Cross-sectional study now. We are collecting everything now. If we are measuring exposure, we are measuring it now, today. If we are measuring outcome, we are measuring everything today. Okay, that's why we use a single point in time, or snapshot in time, or bird's sky view. Now, meaning we are doing the direction is present now. We are not waiting till future, or we are not going into the past. Prospective study. What is the direction? Where do we start from? We start from now, but what is the direction? Into the future, ahead of time. Okay, prospective studies. Retrospective studies. What is the plan? Retrospective studies, you know, the direction. Where do we start from? We start from now, but the direction is into the past. The arrow is going backwards. Is that okay? Retrospective studies. Okay. Great. So practically that is it. But that doesn't mean these are the only designs we have. And those in epidemiology class would appreciate, because in epidemiology class, we have done advanced research designs. We have several research designs. Okay. But I limit you to the 3 now. In the future, when we meet again, research method 1, we will go beyond these 3. Okay. Because beyond these 3, we have several other designs beyond these 3 that we are doing now. Is that okay? Yes, beyond this 3, we have other textbooks who classify designs in different ways. We even have what we call experimental research designs. non-experimental research designs or observational designs. And the experimental, we have randomized control trial, non-randomized control trial. And the randomized, we have clinical trial. And then on randomized, we have quasar experimental study, field trial, community trial. We have a lot. Observational studies are there. We have ecological health survey, case series, case reports. We have correlational. We have a lot of designs. Is that okay? Yes. So basically, most research design, the common ones, these three. Then we come to the data collection approach. What are they? Quantitative approach, qualitative approach, mixed method approach. What does it mean? When we say data collection approach, it's quantitative. What it means is that someone is going to do research. The person will collect variables in the form of numbers. That is one character. The second character, the person will use instruments where they will set questions and give them options. Yeah, because you are measuring things in numbers, so you would only be able to use a questionnaire. Okay, again, the person during the results section can only present data using statistical principles or methods. Okay, so if you see someone have done research, you see pie charts, bar graph, frequency table, straight. Don't ask the person, automatic, it's a quantitative study. Qualitative, okay, what are you going to see? Qualitative approach, it means that this person is going to use interviews to do the study. What other thing are you going to observe? You are going to observe that this person is going to, present data using in-depth contextual insights. The person is going to use a narrative description of interview between two people. Okay, narrative description. Is that okay? That is qualitative studies. Is that okay? Great. Then we have what we call, now in some books, qualitative study, in some textbooks, they call it exploratory study design. Yes, it's the same thing. Exploratory. Some books call it phenomenological studies. It's the same thing. Don't say you were not taught to. It's the same. Exploratory study can be likened to qualitative study design. So if someone tells you, I'm going to do an exploratory study, it's more like a qualitative. So what does it mean? The person will do interviews. Okay, so you will not expect to see pie charts, bar graph, and all of that in their work. Simple as that. Is that okay? So basically, this is it about the research design. Okay, now we also discussed study area. So now we are done with study design. I think that is the only thing most of you raise concern about. So let me quickly take you through all areas you should expect. So expect some MCQ questions also in study area, study setting. Very simple questions in a form of a scenario context. Some simple things. Okay, so study area, at least know what it means and know the difference. Remember, I explained the difference to you. You can revisit the lesson again on the page. Okay, the recordings.
Sir, please, can you go back again? My network was messing up again, please.
Oh, which part? We've not done anything. No. We are still on the same level we were discussing. We've not done anything.
So we should expect
that. Yes. So I'm yet to start all that. So I've not gone anywhere. Yes. So study designs. Study area, study site, and study setting. At least know when we say study area, what does it mean? When we say study site, what does it mean? When we say study setting, what does it mean? All these things are in MCQ questions. Is that okay? So just know what it means and know the difference between study. When do we use study area? When do we use study setting? Okay. Then again, at least when we say target population, at least know what it means. Okay. When we say study population, basically just know the meaning. Okay. You will have some MCQ questions on that. More importantly, sample size determination. Now I told you that you have 20 calculation questions. Please come with calculators for the research method exams. Those questions, I'm not expecting any single person to get those questions wrong. The questions on the sample size determination. Please, in the exams, I will expect that you show working against those questions for me to see you able to do it. Is that show working, write the formula that you are using. And I taught you how we do that. When do we use there is a question on when do we use Yamani formula? Yes, when do we use the Yamani formula?
When sample size is definite and no.
And again? There are two conditions you consider the Yamani formula.
When the population size is small.
Yes.
Small sample
So when the
Yes.
population is known.
So when the population is known.
Oh, one person should speak so that I can appreciate what you are saying, please.
So please, when the population is known.
Good. That is one. What's the second?
When the
Please, when the population size is small.
Oh, you missed it, sister. You missed it too. You missed it. That is not what I mentioned, though. When the population size is large, because if the population size is large, if the N is big in Yamani's formula, the sample size will be big. So in such a situation, you will not use Yamani. Okay, so what are the conditions for using Yamani's formula? 1, when the population size is known and definite, meaning simply put, when it is known, when you know the N. 2, when the population size is large, you can't use the Yamani's formula when the population size is large. You can't use the Yamani's formula. You can only use the Yamani's formula when the population size is small enough. Because you see, in using the Yamani's formula, you also have to consider the sample size in the study you are doing. If the small n is big, if the small n becomes big, what it means is that it's not good for you to consider using the Yamani's formula. It means you have to go and use the Cochrane's formula. So keep it in your mind. In what conditions can you use the Yamani's formula? 1, when the population size, the N, when you know it, is one of the conditions. 2, when the N, the population size, okay, when this population size is not too small, it's not small enough, meaning the population size is very large, don't go and use Yamani's formula. Dodge the Yamani's formula, go and use Cochrane's formula. So what that means is that when the population size is, relatively small enough, it's not that big. Okay, when the population size that you have is not too big, please use the Yamani's formula. But when the population size is very big and you use the Yamani's formula, the small n at the end of the day will become very big. Is that these are the two conditions. Keep it in your mind. And we will ask you questions on that. Okay, under what circumstance will you consider using Yamani? 1, when you know the N, which is the population size. 2, when you know the N is not too big. The N is not too big enough. Why? If the N is too big, the small n would become higher or will become bigger. So in such a situation, it's not good to use Yamani. These are the two principles. Let's go to Cochrane's formula. In what situations do you use Cochrane's formula? In what situations are you going to use Cochrane's formula?
When sample size is unknown.
When you do not know the sample size, that is 1. When you don't know the sample size. What's the second?
When the formula is large, the population is large.
Good. When the population is large. So you see, now we are coming back to Yamani. So in Yamani, even when you know population and it's large, we don't encourage you to use Yamani. Come and use Cochrane. So in Cochrane too, if he asks you what conditions will influence you to use Cochrane, when the population size, even though you know it all, but it's large, use Cochrane formula. So there are 2 principles that will let you use Cochrane formula. 1, when you don't know the population, when the population is unknown. 2, when you know the population but too large enough, it's too large, Cochrane. Simple as that. Someone wanted to ask a question, please go ahead. Someone wanted to ask a question. Can you go ahead?
Sir, please. So with the Yamani formula, when the population size is known and definite.
When the population size, you know the population size, use the Yamani's formula. But that is not the only thing. No, you have to check the 2 conditions. So and the 2 conditions go together. So 1, when the population size is known, and 2, the population size is known but not too big. If you know the population size and it's too big, don't use Yamani, use Cochrane. So you check the two conditions the same time. So one, you check, okay, do you know the population size? Yes, you know. Is it so big to influence the sample size? Because look at the formula. You see how the formula looks. If this n is too big, at the end of the day, the small n, the sample size you are calculating, will become big. So look at this one. You see this one, the population is 500 though. But look at the sample size. See, it's 220. So imagine this was about 1 million. Just imagine a population of 1 million. Okay, so if the population size, which is the capital N, is too big, please go and use the Cochrane's formula. That will help to reduce the sample size for you. Okay, so what are the two conditions for choosing Yamani's formula? One, when the population size is known, that is one. Two, when the population size is known and not too big. Is that okay? If we ask you why, because if the population size N is big, the sample size eventually will be bigger or will be big. Is that okay? Now, what are the two conditions that will let you consider Cochrane's formula? One, when the population size is unknown, you don't know the population size, the capital N. Two, you know it, but it's too large. Then you use the Cochrane formula. Please, have you gotten it? Now, in a question, when are you going to use the Cochrane formula? In a question, we will always give you this N. You see this N, the capital N. It will be given to you in the question in the exams. This capital N, we will give it to you in the question in the exams. Now, the E over here, which is the significance, or some books will call it margin of error, this, we will give it to you in the exams. So the moment you see, we are giving you a scenario, population size, a researcher is conducting a study in a population with so and so, with N is equal to 800, significant level is equal to 0.05. Calculate the sample size. Now, we will not tell you to use Yamani's formula or Cochrane formula. You would look at the parameters in the question and choose which formula you are supposed to use. So once you see the N and you see the E, automatically you should know that you have to use the Yamani's formula. So once you see we've given you the N and you see we've given you the E straight, don't ask anyone. Automatically you should know that you have to use the Yamani's formula. Is that okay? So in the scenario, the moment you see the population N, then you come and write the formula. So N is equal to capital N all over 1 plus capital N into bracket E, close the bracket 2. If you do the calculation well, you see your answer there direct and you circle your answer, you are done. Is that so? Memorize the formula very well. N is equal to. In fact, I can even give you the formula in the exams and ask you that, which of the following formulas correctly, suit or is the correct formula for Yamani? Then you choose. But that question is risky because if you go and choose the wrong formula, it means you are likely to use that wrong formula to do all the other calculations and get everything wrong. But it's not a problem. I can still put that for you in the exams. Okay, yes. So N is equal to capital N all over 1 plus capital N into brackets E, close the bracket, raise the power 2. Simple as that. This is what we call the Yamani's formula. So you'll be given, so in the question, if we give you the N to be 500, and let's say we tell you confidence level is 98%, what will be the E? What will be the E? We did this in class. Yes, 0.02. Okay, simple as that. So the E will be 0.02. So sometimes we can choose to give you the confidence. Sometimes we can choose to give you the significance direct. Okay, let's come to the Cochrane's formula. Now in the Cochrane's formula, here we are going to give you the previous study. We will give you what we call the proportion from a previous study. Now, if you are going to do Cochrane, you are going to use Cochrane formula. What it means is that, let's say I want to do a research among, let's say your class, level 202 students, okay? Or you are 301. Are you 301? Yes, 301 students. I want to do a research among level 301 students. Now, I want to measure your knowledge. Let's say your sample size is too big for me, so I'm afraid. I want to use Cochrane. What I'll go and do is that, my study, I'm measuring the knowledge of level 301 students. on, let's say, infection prevention, what I'll do, I'll go and look for another research where they also conducted a study among nurses and they measured knowledge of nurses on infection prevention. Then I'll pick the prevalence that they had, the proportion from there. So I'll check, okay, maybe in their study, they said, 60% of the nursing students had knowledge. What it means is that their proportion, the P is 0.06, sorry, 0.60. The 60%, you divide it by 100, you are going to get 0.60. Is that okay? So you with Cochrane's formula, you always pick the P from someone's study, and you have to reference the person, or you have to reference that paper. Okay, that is the whole idea with Cochrane. Another example, let's say I want to do a study, I want to measure the attitude of, let's say, patients regarding OPD services. Now, I go to a particular hospital, I realize the population size is very big. Because of that, I'm getting a very big sample size. Okay, let me use Cochrane. I will go and look for another research where they also measure the attitude of nurses. Let's say I've gotten a particular paper done by someone. They've written that, okay, 75% of the patient had poor attitude. I'll pick that proportion, the 75%. Then I will use it as my P. But in putting that P into the formula, you have to convert it into decimal. So in the exams, we will give you the proportion. In fact, the proportion, we can give you the proportion in percentage. We can also give it to you in decimal. But remember, if we tell you the proportion, the previous study found 65%. Before you do the calculation, convert that 65% to decimal, which will become 0.65. If we tell you previous study found 50%, the P will become P is equal to 0.50. We can also choose to give it to you direct in decimal. Is that okay? Great. So please understand. So we will always give you the P. We would also give you the Z-score. So look at the formula. You see, this Z stands for the Z-score. Okay, this Z over here, it stands for what? The Z-score. This Z, it stands for the Z-score. Okay, now if we tell you, and the Z-score you are going to use will depend on the confidence level that we gave you. What is the Z-score for 95% confidence interval? Confidence level. What's the Z-score? 95% confidence level.
1.96.
1.96. So in the exams, we can choose to give you the Z, or we can give you the confidence level, then you will write the Z. Let me show you a trick. The common confidence level we will give you is just 4 of them. The 95%, 90%, 98%, and 99%. So go and memorize the corresponding Z-score for this 4. 95%. So it means that in the scenario, when you read and you see 95%, all it means is that this Z over here, you write the 95% confidence level, the corresponding Z-score is 1.96. So the Z, you put 1.96. So it will be into bracket 1.96 squared times the P. Let's say we told you the previous study had a proportion of, let's say, 65%. The 65% divided by 100, you get 0.65. Okay, so it will be 1.96 squared multiplied by 0.65 into bracket 1 minus 0.65, close the brackets, all over D. The D is the same as the E. Okay, and that's the margin of error. So we will always give you the D2 in the question. Okay, so you see here, the D is 0.05. 0.05. And again, you can also get the D from the confidence level that will be given in the question. If we tell you the confidence is 98%, it means the D will be equal to 0.02. Okay, so let me give you an example of a question, then you solve it for me to see. Let's say I give you a prevalence of a proportion of 0.75. I'm giving you some numbers for you to use. Proportion. The proportion is 0.75. Please write it down and do the calculation and let me see. Proportion is 0.75. Confidence level is 98%. Confidence level is 98%. Confidence level is 98%. Confidence
Sir, please, we can't see your screen.
Oh, is it for all of you?
No, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it means some can see. That is fine. So kindly adjust yourself. Okay. So yeah, so I said I'm giving you a proportion. The proportion is 0.75. The P is 0.75. Confidence level is 98%. Calculate the sample size. Use the Cochrane's formula. Once we tell you we are giving you P proportion, once you see we are giving you P or we are giving you proportion or we give you percentage in the scenario, straight Cochrane's formula. Let me take it for the last time. Once you see we've given a percentage in the scenario, we've given a proportion in the scenario, straight, remember, you are going to use the Cochrane's formula. Okay, so in the Cochrane's formula, we will give you proportion. I'm giving you an example. 0.75 and 98%. That's the confidence level. The confidence level is 98%. The proportion is 0.75. Calculate the sample size using the Cochrane's formula. How is it going to be? N will be equal to. Yes, N will be equal to.
$0.75.
Yes, N will be equal to. The proportion is 0.75, and then the confidence level is 98%. So the sample size, the N will be equal to what?
Sir, please, you didn't give the deal.
Oh, the D from the confidence level, you should know the D. You've forgotten I explained. From the confidence level, you should know the D. The D, the significance, you should know it from the confidence level. If we tell you confidence level is 90, significance is 0.02. Yeah, so it's not all the time. What you need in Cochrane is just the confidence level because they always go together. We can't say your confidence level is 95, then we give you a different significance. It goes together. They are always in line. Is that okay? Yes. So we can just give you the confidence level and we will not give you the significance. You should know the significance from the confidence level. So how are you going to go about it? So N will be equal to what? What will be the Z? What will be the Z? Yes, what will be the Z?
2.33.
Good, 2.33. So it will be 2.33, close the bracket, squared, multiplied by the P will be what? What's the P?
The P.
0.0.
Good. Good. So you get 2.33 squared multiplied by 0.75 into bracket 1 minus 0.75. Then you close the bracket. That is for the top. Then the down one will be 0.02 raised the power 2. That is 0.02 squared. So someone should do the computation and give me the answer.
I got 2,545 participants.
Come again,
2,545 participants.
2,545 participants. So you see, this sample size is even larger. But this one, I'm just giving you some data from my head. I'm just giving you some variables from my head. So you see, the sample size is big, but it's fine. You check, the answer will be there for you to circle. Okay, you'll be provided you did the calculation well. You check that answer you've gotten will be there for you to look at. Do another example. Do 0.45. The proportion 0.45, or you can say 45%. The proportion 45%. Confidence level 99%. Confidence level 99%. Solve this one too, and let me see what we are going to get. The confidence level is 99%. The confidence level is 99%. The confidence level is 99%. And then the previous proportion, or the P, is 0.45. The P is 0.45. And then confidence level is 99%. Calculate for the N, the sample size.
Sir, please, I got N to be 16,423,500 hey God,
What did you get?
545.6.
Come again. I didn't hear you. Hello.
16 billion. 423 million.
Good.
545,600 participants.
That is fine. That is fine. If you follow the systematic process, you had that, you definitely see that in the options. Is that okay? Yes, you definitely see that in the options. So typically, if this was an example in the exams and you actually solve it the right, you definitely meet that option there for you to circle. Is that okay? Yes. So basically, that is it. So note, once you see we've given you the confidence level, we've given you proportion, or we've given you a percentage. Remember, you are going to use the Cochrane formula. So if you see something like 75%, 85% in the scenario, you go further, you go and see 98%. It means you are going to use Cochrane formula. Okay. And if you tell you 98%, what it means is that the D you are seeing there, the D will be 0.02. Don't ask the D is not there. The D will be 0.02. When you see 95%, the D will be hot. When you see 95%, the D will be hot. 95%, the D will be hot. If you see 95%,
0.05.
The D will be 0.05. Okay, when you see 90%, the D will be hot. 90%, the D will be
0.1.
0.1. Excellent. The D will be 0.1. Yes. 0.1. Is that okay? The D will be 0.1. Okay. So what it means is go and sit down. So right now, what you need from the Cochrane is that go and sit down. Memorize all the Z-scores for the 4 that I've given you. 90%, 98%, 95%, and then 99%. Memorize all the Z-scores. So that the moment you see 95%, you know, 95%, I'm using the Z, I'm writing 1.9 squared. Then the proportion, the question will give you the proportion. The D2, the confidence level will tell you the D you use. No problem. I'll organize more examples and send it to you. Okay. But there will be 10 calculations on the Cochrane, 10 also on the Yamani's formula. Please, it should be bonus. You shouldn't miss those questions, please. It should be bonus for you. Okay, great. So basically, that is it for the sample size. Remember, I've told you about it. 20 questions on the sample size calculations. Please, learn it very well. Okay, don't go and learn anything. The Yamani's formula, the Cochrane formula, 20 questions on it. Practice how to solve it over and over. Okay, again, we went through sample size. How do we determine sample size in qualitative studies? Yes, I gave you a certain term. It's just one term. What is it? How do we determine data saturation? Simple as that. There will be a question on that too in the MCQ. Data saturation. How do we determine sample size? Okay, and know the meaning of data saturation. I explained that also in class. Okay, then we came to data collection tools. What are the two common data collection tools? Yes, what are the two common data collection tools?
Structured interview and structured questionnaire.
Good. So yes, so those are the standard ones. So we have two common data collection tools: the interview guide and then the questionnaire. Under questionnaire, we mentioned 3 subtypes of questionnaires. Okay, so the 3 we spoke about: the structured questionnaires, the semi-structured questionnaires, and unstructured questionnaires. There are questions on them. What is the commonest instrument that is used in quantitative studies? There is a question on that. The subtypes of or the data collection instruments for quantitative studies. We spoke about 3. We have the structured questionnaire, the semi-structured questionnaire, unstructured questionnaire. There are questions on them too. Then we came to qualitative studies. Commonly, we use what? Interview guide. Okay, what instruments do we use for retrospective studies? Who remember? What instrument do we use for retrospective studies? I mentioned it in class. Checklist. It means that you'll be able to answer the questions because there are questions on that too. So straight, you circle checklist. What is the instrument that is commonly used in retrospect? It's a checklist, data collection checklist or checklist. Okay. For qualitative studies, what instrument do we use? Interview guide. Okay. Interview guide. Okay. Yes. So keep it in your mind. So those are some of the questions that you should be expecting. And again, I also mentioned that there are questions also on sampling procedure. You see this one, sampling procedure. This very topic, sampling procedure. I think there are about 10 questions on sampling procedure alone. Sampling procedure. Okay. How many types of sampling procedure do we have?
2.
Good. We have 2 types, probability sampling, non-probability sampling. Okay, so under the probability sampling, simple random sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, systematic sampling, and then multi-stage sampling. Under non-probability sampling, we looked at convenience sampling, purposive sampling, snowball sampling, quota sampling. You have about 10 MCQ questions on this very parts of the methodology alone. The sampling procedures. Some of these things, I'm not expecting anyone to miss some of these things because these are basic things in research. The sampling procedures is that you people are beyond some of these things. So convenient, if convenience is in a scenario, I don't think anyone should miss it. I don't know how convenience can be put in a scenario context that you miss convenience sampling. Okay, if snowballing is in a scenario form, I don't know how you should miss it. Is that quota sampling? I don't know how it will be put in a scenario that you miss it. Unless you never heard of read research at all. Okay, so some of these things should be bonus. Some of these questions, you see them, you move forward. Is that okay? Good. So expect questions on the sampling procedures. Is that okay? Again, good. Here is the game itself. Validity and reliability of data collection instruments. This topic should be your friend. Validity and reliability of data collection instruments. Here, this very topic. Please let it be your friend. Study this topic, dwell on this topic very well. Validity and reliability of data collection instruments. The content validity, construct validity, criterion validity, then we come to reliability, rate test reliability, inter-rater reliability, eternal consistency reliability. Now, there is another one, external validity. Go and check about that one too. External validity. We have another one we call external validity. Please go and check about that one too. That one has got to do with the ability of you to generalize your results to a larger population after a research. That is about external validity. Okay, good. So reliability, rate test reliability, inter-rater reliability, eternal consistency reliability. Remember, all these things are quantitative. So the validity here, the content validity, construct validity, criterion validity, these are all under quantitative studies. So then we have the reliability, rate test reliability, inter-rater reliability, eternal consistency. This is also quantitative. Okay, before we come to validity and reliability in quantitative research. So in quantitative research, validity is the same validity, just that we look at it in different contexts. So that is where under validity in quantitative studies, that's where we have triangulation, member checking, rich text description, peer debriefing, reflexivity. Okay, then we come to reliability in qualitative studies. That is where we have the audit trial, dependability audit, code, recode strategy, intercoder agreement. In fact, you like it. you see a lot of questions on this: validity and reliability, credibility, dependability, confirmability, transferability, a lot. So please, all you can do is that sit down, read it, go over the notes we discussed, read it, try and crack your own sample questions, like scenarios on some of these concepts. Okay, in a scenario form, how is it going to be like? Look at multiple examples, okay, and get it. So reliability, please, validity and reliability of data collection instrument. Take that topic very serious. Okay, then the last thing, you are not going to see any questions, any match on data analysis, because we've not actively done. We'll do data analysis more in research method 2. That is where we are going to learn how to do data analysis and how to present research results and all of that. Okay, of course, maybe there is one question B on data handling that is very simple. If you know it's about data handling and data storage. It's a very simple question. Then ethical considerations too. Okay, ethical considerations too. Here too, I think there are 2 questions on the ethical consideration, but that is also very simple for you to know. Okay, and again, there is one section B question from the research methodology. There is one section B question from the research methodology. Okay, yes, that question will center on the research designs. Okay, there is a question in the session B on research designs. It could be, we can ask you to differentiate between retrospective and prospective and state 2 advantages or disadvantages of each of them. Okay, we can ask you, okay, state the 3 types of research designs. Okay, or differentiate between cross-sectional study, retrospective studies. State 2 advantages of each of them. Okay, those kind of things. Okay, so study the research methodology very well. Okay, now the other aspect of the section B would focus on the other aspect of the section B. The section B would focus on, we would give you a research topic. Then I would also give you the specific objectives. So we'll give you a research topic. You are all going to have different, research topics, very different. You would have your research topic. You use the topic to write main objective. Please master it because you see, I will see this as something bonus. So the slightest mistake, I'll mark it incorrect. Because things like this are simple. For example, how do we write main objective? Then you start. Someone have written in the workbook, someone writes main objective. The person starts with 2. No. Main objective, we don't start with 2. We learned this already. At this level, we've crossed all these things. So please don't take us back. Okay, good. So you can give you a research topic. We'll ask you, okay, use the topic to write main objective. Is that okay? So you have a research topic. You are using the research topic to write main objective. Okay, we've given you specific objectives. Use the specific objectives to write research questions, or write the specific objective in the form of research questions. Okay, we can also give you research questions. Then we will ask you to write the research questions in the form of specific objective. You see how it goes. So it can be 2 things. So some of you will be changing research questions into specific objectives. Some of you will be changing specific objectives into research questions. So learn how, if you have specific objective, how are you going to change it into research question? If you have a research question, how are you going to change it into specific objective? Is that okay? Good. Now, if we've given you specific objective 2, how will you convert it into a theme in your literature review, into a heading in your literature review? So if we give you specific objective 3, the 3 specific objectives, how are you going to write it in the form of a heading or a theme to feature in your literature review? Practice how to do it. So get several research topics, several research specific objects. Try converting it into research questions. Try changing it into themes. Learn how to do it. Practice. Do multiple ones and make sure you get it. If you practice it, no matter the objective that will be given, you'll be able to write it in a team. Again, you'll be asked to write significance of the study. So the topic that we've given you, write significance of study in your own words. So the significance of study for that. And you know the sequence. If you are writing significance of study, you know the format, the style, where you start from, where you end. So there are certain things I'll be looking out for. Okay, significance of study, learn, practice. Go and get different topics. For your case, but I've sent you a lot of them. Go and get different topics. Practice how to write significance of study for them by yourself. If you don't try, attempt doing it yourself, it will be very hard for you to crack your mind on the day of the exams. So we give you a topic, then use it to write significance of study. Is that okay? Great. That is fine. Again, remember we discussed when we give you a topic and we tell you to write the parts of the topic. You remember those things? Yes, sir. Honorable, how are you? All right. All the best thing. Remember we discussed when we give you a research topic, then we ask you what are the parts of the topic. We discussed that in your classroom. We give you a research topic, this topic, research topic. Then